But I see that the main problem, it was not in the body. It was in our mind. And I want to understand how the human mind works. Then I changed the direction of my life in the intent to understand how the mind works. Then once I renounced to be a medical doctor, I went to my mother, who was the greatest teacher I have, and I learned from her. She was a very well-known spiritual healer. I started working with her, and I decided to start teaching. Then I grabbed the first small group of apprentices. I remember at that time, I didn't speak English. It was the need to communicate what helped me to start teaching in a different language. Then I was learning a lot and very fast. But at the same time, I was sharing what I have in my mind. Very soon, it came more apprentices, and my English becomes a little better and better and better. And as you can see, I can have some problems with the grammar, but it was enough for me to explain what I have in mind. Then, it was a great adventure in both sides. They have the desire to learn. I had the desire to teach. The result, it was wonderful because I see how they start transforming their life. And I start changing the ways to share, the ways to teach. Like a year later, I have a big crowd of apprentices. And that's when I decide to start taking them in the power places like Teotihuacan, which is close to Mexico City. It was a time that I used to bring apprentices there almost every single month and start measuring the difference in their lives. And it was extremely positive. I was helping them to change their world. It was 10 years that I was working very intense with all of them. And I see amazing transformation. And for me, understanding the mind, it was stronger, until the moment that it was as clear as water. I could understand the individual as I could understand the entire humanity. Of course, it was a big evolution for myself, but I see the big transformation and all that people that I love dearly. The result of that, of course, was a wonderful book, The 4 Agreements. And I shared the tools for transformation, how they can change that masterpiece of art that each one of us create. Because we create our own world. We create our own universe. And with those tools, we have the opportunity to change everything that we don't like about our our own creation and to replace it for all those beliefs that bring us peace, happiness, joy. 4 agreements who make a big, big difference. Very simple. The challenge it was to use the English that I knew at that time in order to express nothing but common sense, something that I learned from my family and from other masters, of course, that influence in my life. 4 agreements, something that I share during all those years that I train apprentices. It was great for me to see the big transformation. 4 agreements. When I finished that book, I knew without a doubt that this book will go all around the world and make big changes in people's life. A book that you can read many times, and every time that you read that little book, you'll find many other things that you didn't notice. To explain that is so simple. I put myself in that book, and the book died as soon as I finish. But I have all the power in this little book that every time that anybody read the book, the reader give life to that book. The book becomes alive, and it challenges what the reader have in their mind, and start helping them to change the concepts that they have. When they finish the book is dead again. When they read it again, they give life again, but now their mind already changed, and they see many other things that they didn't want to see before. Then that book becomes a guide who can help anyone to find themselves in their own pace, in their own ways, in their own world. And it was a merge between Miguel, which is in the book, and the reader. After a certain point, I decided not to have apprentices any longer. I have a major heart attack. When I come back from the heart attack, I focus most of my attention in my own children. I see them grow in their own ways until they become masters. Then my children come to me and say, "Father, maybe it's time for you to start taking apprentices once again." But in the new ways of the world. I remember the last century, it was used to be with groups, one by one, taken to power places, etc., etc. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have all those tools that we have today. The world changed completely in the last 30 years. And now it's so easy to reach you wherever you are. You can be here any place in the United States, any place in Europe, in the whole world. And this information can go directly to you. Then I decide to say yes to my children, but this time it's not just between you and me. It's my whole family. That is a little more than just my children and you, because what I really want since the very beginning is to change the world. When I started teaching and taking apprentices, I was completely responsible for my world. And I was changing my world. And at the same time, I was helping my apprentices to change their world. And that's exactly what we want to do once again. You know, for a long time, the entire humanity was looking for the end of the world. Those societies, they misinterpreted everything, and they was thinking that that was the end of humanity, the end of the earth. No, it's the end of the world that you create. And the end of your world comes with the judgment day. The judgment day is the last time that you judge yourself. And after that, you don't judge yourself any longer. And as a result of that, you don't judge anybody anymore. And this is the goal that we have. Please help us to change the world that you create. We give you the tools, you got the directions, only you know what you like about your world and what you don't like about your world, because you're the artist. You create it and only you can change it. Then this is like a kind of contract between you and us. It's an agreement that can be broken at any time. You can get out anytime you want to, it doesn't matter. But it's up to you if you want to follow yourself, your own integrity, and to become authentic, to be what you really are, and don't pretend anymore to be what you are not. Saying that, we welcome you to join us if that's what you desire, if it's what you really want, to help us, to guide you to find yourself in your own way, not in our way, in your way. The next time that I will speak about how I get my own authenticity.